Hello, everybody. This is Chief Meteorologist Andrew Pinero outside on a gorgeous day. It's technically fall, but it feels very much like summer. Beautiful blue sky. It's 80 degrees out right now. This does not feel like what fall should be. So we'll talk a little bit about that. First, the ground is not as dry as I've shown before, but it's still crunchy, and it's definitely still dry. So we have drought conditions in a lot of areas and some just abnormally dry conditions. This weather may feel very nice, but it can't sustain like this because, as you just saw, the ground is really dry. So the ground does need some rain. And we're not really going to get too much of it this week, but we are going to have some other things to talk about. So let's head into the studio and I will show you what I mean. All right, so we are now back at the desk. So let's hop on over to the computer here and take a quick look at some things to keep on the radar, pun intended. We have a couple of very interesting systems. So we do officially have our next named system, Imelda. So this is as of the 8 p.m. update. It is 9 p.m. as of this recording. And what's very interesting is if we take a look at the cone here, it heads pretty much due north. There's a lot of, in here, the tropical storm warnings. There's a tropical storm right now. Looks like it'll strengthen to a hurricane by 2 p.m. Tuesday. So between 2 a.m. Tuesday and 2 p.m. Tuesday, it'll hit Cat 1. But due north and then a hard turn to the right. And then continue. It pretty much has Bermuda in its sights. So that's Imelda. Now we have Umberto, which has a very similar cone. Look at this. Except it's not going to go due north and then east. It's heading northwest and then turning northeast. So, but it still has this very tight recurve. But Bermuda is not in its grasp. But there's still tropical storm watches in effect right there for Bermuda. So, what are we taking away from this? The big thing is that these two systems are close enough that they're going to be interacting with each other. It is called the Fujiwara effect. You might have remembered this a decade ago from Hurricane Sandy. The Fujiwara effect brought Sandy westward into New Jersey. So Hurricane Sandy was not supposed to go that way, but because there was a low pressure system here, and a hurricane is a low-pressure system, they were interacting with each other, and they were orbiting each other. So here, they do have an effect. It's not exactly the same effect because one's not being pulled in necessarily by the other. We also have out here the subtropical high spinning clockwise. So that's also having an effect on both of these. And going along with my theory and my checkpoint here, keeping Puerto Rico right here as the checkpoint. If the system forms or travels north of Puerto Rico, which Umberto did, it's not going to make a U.S. landfall. Because of the position of the subtropical high, it's just going to recurve out to sea. Now, Imelda's a little bit different. It didn't traverse across the Atlantic Ocean from Africa like Umberto's energy mass did. It formed kind of right over here. So they might be having the same influence. They may be a little bit of a Fujiwara effect with them orbiting each other while the subtropical high is also pulling them together. So we have a binary star system orbiting a star system. That's kind of what's going on with that. So I don't think there will be any major landfall with this. And if we look at rainfall potential, the biggest here is Charleston, all just right along the coast. Yes, anywhere inland can get a couple of inches of rain, so you should all be prepared. And I did see a lot of people in the news that were getting prepared. They're going to the beach. They're actually filling up sandbags, so that is good to take a look at. So keep that in mind. Rain and storm surge are going to be the biggest impacts directly from the hurricane. Now, for the Northeast, we're not going to be necessarily having that kind of effect. In the Northeast, we're probably just going to have a rip current risk. So I would expect all of that to go into effect shortly. We take a look at the National Hurricane Center here, or sorry, not National Weather Service office for New York City. This one has nothing yet. If we go south, we have nothing yet there in Jersey. If we head a bit more east to Boston, nothing there yet. So keep an eye out for any rip current risks that may be popping up. Although the ocean water is cooling down, so it may not be as pleasant to go into the ocean this time of year. All right, so taking a little bit of a deeper look, let's go to the forecast models. I left this intentionally. This was from the last time I recorded a video, so this particular run, 18Z on the 24th. It is not the 24th. So let's see how well each of these did. So this was the GFS. That was Gabrielle. That's Umberto. That's all they did. And then this had, I think that was Imelda. So that's the systems that were there. Gabrielle, Umberto, Imelda. It did, for those, have the, it's weird, it kind of had the same setup here, except Gabrielle went out, and then this is not Imelda, this is Umberto. So Umberto's already out, and then the only thing in the area was Imelda. That's what the 18Z on the 24th run said. So now, let's refresh this. And now we're going to bring up 18Z on the 28th. And there we have our two systems. It looks very similar, but it's one system off. This is Umberto, and this is Imelda. Gabrielle is out. Those two systems. Here is a little bit of that Fujiwara effect where they start this little orbit, and then they both just get thrown out to sea. But that looks like Imelda becomes a pretty strong hurricane, and then goes right over Bermuda. So keep an eye out, Bermuda. And then for the Carolinas, maybe some heavy rain and storm surge and wind. I don't see any direct, I don't see any landfall. Yes, this is still direct impacts, but nothing in terms of like a full-on hurricane, which is good. Also, we have the high up here coming down that's acting like a shield. So the Northeast is protected. And that will keep us pretty good weather for this week mostly. So now if we take a look at this going into Monday, high right overhead, so good weather there. Going into Tuesday, high is weaker, but it's still enough to keep all this out of our way. Winds start kicking up, it looks like, on Tuesday, because you have the interaction of these two systems and this high pressure system up here. Even though there's no H for the high, I can still tell it's a high, because if you look at the isobars, this is basically like a topographic map, just topographic of the air pressure. So we just follow the lines, 1026, 1028, 1030. So that means it's going up. So right here is a high pressure system. And that is going to also protect us. There it is, a 1033 millibar high. So that through Friday, we still have high pressure right over us. So there's really nothing in our weather to worry about. And I'm just going to go through Sunday, a high still in place. So we have one or two high pressure systems over us at any given moment through this week, acting like a shield. And that is a good thing. All right, and the only other model I'm just going to show as a comparison, because we were going back and forth, here is the Euro, September 24th, 12Z. Let's take a peek at what it did again. There's Gabrielle. There's Umberto. Oh, that was weird. And there is no third system. So the Euro was actually more wrong than the GFS. Gabrielle. Umberto. Actually, no. Wait a second. Oh, I was reading this wrong last time. This is right. Look at the dates. So even though this is the 24th model, so this is Sunday, the 28th, which was today. There's the two systems. So this was not Gabrielle and Umberto. This was Umberto and Imelda. The GFS, if we go back to the 24th, 18Z the 24th, it was Gabrielle. It's weird. September 30th. But it had them in a very different spot, because there's 3. 1, 2, 3. GFS was actually more wrong. There we go. That was quite an epiphany. Gabrielle, Umberto, Imelda. Very wrong. But that's why we have more than one forecast model we take a look at. Because now if we are looking back at the 24th for the Euro, this is called hindcasting that we're doing. We're seeing how the old forecast models validated. So we have Umberto, strong storm. Imelda, not strong yet. There they go, out to sea. This one, though, look at that. So I remember last time I showed this, Imelda did this weird stall and then came back and then hit the U.S. Specifically, it hit the Northeast, and it kind of went straight into the catty corner there of New York City. This is October 7th, so this is a little bit more out than I normally look at, but that is not what we're looking at right now. So let's go back now to, refresh this, to today. Nope. Oh, there we go. Yes, that right. So that was the 12Z. The 28th is the current model from the Euro. So there's the two. And there they go. Interestingly, it does still do that stall, but it stalls out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and then continues north. And then it looks like east. So still no effect with the landfall in the U.S., specifically in New York City. So even though this is within the 7-day forecast range that I feel better with, so I am confident in saying I'd give this an 80 or more % chance of actually happening. I don't think there's going to be any landfall with this. Yes, the Carolinas from Imelda may see right there, right in here, may see some heavy rain and wind and storm surge, but not a direct landfall. And there it goes. And there continues the nice weather for us. All right. So that is it. All right. So that is going to be a wrap for this video. I did want to just show that comparison between what we saw last video on the 24th compared to 4 days later on the 28th now. Quite a bit of a difference we saw between just 4 days. That's why when you're looking online and someone's going like 10 days out, oh, there's going to be a hurricane hitting 10 days out from now. Don't believe it. Just over the course of a few days, you can see the forecast models changed. That's why don't go run to run unless it's very close. If it's within 3 days, sure, check run to run. But over a week out, don't even bother. All right, so if you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit that subscribe button below and the little bell icon right next to that so you get notified whenever I upload videos like this or I go live. All right, everybody, this is Chief Meteorologist Andrew Pinero. Stay safe, and I'll see you all in the next video.